stuff. Yes, ma'am.
How do we break the stranglehold of the conservationists so that we can drill in ANWR? We need to break the stranglehold of these people somehow, because they have too powerful a control over our nation.
Environmentalists are people who see a sort of an equivalency between a child and a tree. My faith tells me that it's not an equivalency between a child and a tree, that a child is far more valuable than a tree. I think there's no environmental problem with ANWR. I do think that there's a national security reason to save some somewhere. Because there will come a day when our grandchildren, my grandchildren or my great-grandchildren, will need oil for the things you can't make. You can't get petroleum is needed for pharmaceuticals and plastics. You may as well save some somewhere. I think ANWR is a decent place to save it. Not that it can't be extracted in an environmentally friendly way. I think it can be. It's just that we know it's there. It's fairly easily gotten to. We don't have to have pipelines and things like that, but fairly easily gotten to. May as well save some somewhere for national security purposes. The infrastructure in the Gulf and a place like that is there. Let's get the stuff and drill and get it.
I was watching Fox News this morning and saw Senator Graham and two other senators where they were proposing a bill for taxes on carbon, on fuels.
Yeah.
And I know that they originally called it, we call it cap and trade, but I call it crap and tax. But they were originally calling it global warming, and then they changed the name to climate change.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And it's with the same cap and trade. Right. And now they're after all of this record temperature snowfalls and high low temperatures, and with the information about the emails where they found out there's a lot of fraudulent money spent on weather scientists, now they're starting to say that cap and trade is dead. But then they're turning right around and renaming it tax on carbon. Are you for or against this tax on carbon?
Yeah.
How will you vote on it?
I've voted against cap and trade because I think that it is a tax increase in the midst of a recession. It's a Wall Street trading scheme that's terribly complicated, and it decimates American manufacturing. So for three real solid reasons, I voted no on cap and trade. I have an alternative that is completely different than cap and trade. It is 15 pages long as opposed to the 1,200-page monstrosity of cap and trade. And it does, our idea in 15 pages is to reduce taxes on payroll, on the FICA taxes. It's 6.2% employee, 6.2% employer, up to $106,800 worth of income. We would reduce that tax. Now, that funds Social Security. So you have to have a substitute tax somewhere. You can't just let Social Security get unfunded, right? So you got to shift it onto something. So what we would shift it onto is emissions. The question I always put back to people when it comes up about climate change is, how do you want me to discuss that? I can discuss it as national security, I can discuss it as jobs, or I can discuss it as science.
But we still pay for it.
Yes.
It's still a tax.
It's still a tax.
When you tax emissions, if I run a business that makes emissions as part of manufacturing my product and employing my employees, when you raise my cost, I must do one of two things. I must either lay off some employees or raise my prices and pass on the cost of that to everybody in the room that buys my product. So you're not taxing me and you're not taxing emissions. You're taxing everybody that buys my product, and you're making it harder for me to employ somebody. And that's our concern, sir.
Yeah, exactly. Now, remember, though, in Art Laffer and I's proposal, you're reducing payroll taxes, which is your fully loaded cost of that labor is higher because of the FICA taxes. So those just got lowered. And then your energy price went up. Ed Markey...
But I've got to have energy and labor to make my product, sir, so you moved it from one place to another. My overall burden didn't go down. You said and therefore either my price has to go up to the public or I have to lay people off. And
That's right.
we're not trying to be hard-headed here, but we're still paying
Yeah.
more. And I think rather than doing either one of those things, rather than just putting the burden somewhere else, you and Art Laffer are on a good thing, cutting taxes, but putting it somewhere else, it negates the good you did. We need to say, let's tighten the government budget instead of replace the revenue in a different place. That's where we're missing you, sir.
Yeah, right.
Well, I've got a master's in environmental engineering, chemical engineering degree. I used to work with DHEC for quite a few years, and the emissions are pretty darn clean. So why don't you just tax us for the air we breathe instead of calling it emissions?
Well, yeah, it's like this. You're back to my weakest point here is the science, because I'm not a scientist. I just play one on the science committee. So if you really want to talk the science of climate change, I'm really at a disadvantage because we may have some scientists here. We are hanging out there in dependence on a region of the world that just doesn't like us. And what I'm looking for is a way for free enterprise to break that. The problem is that free enterprise can't break it as long as the incumbent fuel, in this case transportation, the one that they're so dependent on, gets a lot of goodies from this government that aren't recognized in the price. And if you stuck it to them, said pay for some of the national security costs that we have right now, the risks that we run, plus let's do some simple cost accounting and say, you know, that ship that's cruising up and down the Straits of Hormuz right now, keeping that 90-mile stretch open, you're going to bear the freight of that, Exxon. Now, the price of gasoline isn't $2.50 a gallon. It's higher than that. It's just the price is hidden because we're paying it other ways, by taxes, other ways, by subsidizing this supply line to this stuff we must have. And if you just do some simple cost accounting, you got any cost accountants in here, and just sort of start putting it on that gas and say, now, gas is the real cost, isn't $2.50, it's more like $3, maybe $3.50. Then all these competing technologies say, oh, I can beat that. But as long as society is subsidizing the price of gasoline, you won't have free enterprise delivering the solution.
You're a lawyer. You got to know there's no such thing as a corporation tax. They pass it on to their customers in prices. Am I wrong?
Right. No, that's right. It's just know this. In Texas right now, there are wells that are shut down. They were operating at $4 a gallon, but they're not operating now. We got the oil. It's in the ground. The well is actually dug. It's just it isn't worth the electricity to suck up the oil because it's below the market rate. At $4 a gallon gas, those wells were working. And you see this Texas oil guy that's got the pump turned off right now, he would love what I'm talking about because he would say, I see, if you put some of that cost of the Straits of Hormuz onto that Middle Eastern oil, I'll turn my pump back on because I can sell profitably at that.
But that $4 a gallon gas is one of the things that drove the economy into the tank. It wasn't all on real estate and derivatives. We couldn't afford to drive and we couldn't afford to do things and buy things, and we don't have an unlimited amount of money as consumers. We can't pay $4.
Yeah,
so don't sell at that price.
Okay, and here's what the gentleman in the back who saw the housing bubble coming saying, you heard it here first.
Yes, sir.
Gas is going to be back at $4 a gallon within 2 years of this recovery taking hold.
But
That's my prediction.
How much of that $4 a gallon, that magic number at $4 a gallon, he would turn his pumps back on, is due to electrical costs for pumping it out, and how much of it is due to EPA regulation that drives up his cost to the point where it's not worth pumping it out? This is a self-created problem by the bureaucrats in D.C.
That's right.
You're the only one standing in front of us. I don't mean to direct it just at you, but you're part of the problem. You guys in D.C. created this problem with the EPA, with the Department of Education, with all these departments that are screwing the American people. And then when things get out of hand, you step up in front of a camera and say, we have a problem. It's not our problem. We're not up there voting on this stuff. You guys are made this problem. And it's all because none of you have a respect for this document right here, the Constitution.